So here I want to try to show a relatively simple example of how the back muscles might work with an external extension load. So we're just going to consider the internal moment here generated by the semispinalis cervicis, semispinalis capitis, rectus capitis posterior major, and rectus capitis posterior minor. So what I've done is reviewed their attachments and drawn force vectors here. And so just to be specific, the cervicis attaches really throughout the lower cervical spine up to C2. So we're representing it as a force vector acting on the spinous process of C2 inferiorly. And the semispinalis capitis is a superficial muscle that spans many segments and runs all the way to the foramen magnum, or the occiput between the inferior and superior nuchal lines. And we can see it represented here. So, and then we can also see here, if we look at its PCSA and moment arm, the capitis is going to have a longer moment arm relative to these different segments, and the cervicis is going to have a shorter moment arm, and we have that like listed here. And then if we also look at the upper cervical muscles, the rectus capitis posterior major and the rectus capitis posterior minor, we know that the major goes from the nuchal line to C2, and that's labeled 3 here, and that 4, the minor, goes from the nuchal line to C1. So we could ask the question, really, if we calculated the internal moment generated by the cervicis and semispinalis capitis at the C4-5 segments, we'd put an axis point through the disc and then calculate that moment. And we could start over here to the right by declaring the cross-sectional physiologic cross-sectional area of the capitis and cervicis, both around 5 centimeters, which is within their range, and then use these moment arms at C4-5 and apply what we know about muscle stress, and then get a calculated force output, a peak force, given their PCSA of about 290 newtons, and then we could calculate that peak force by each moment arm for each muscle, the semispinalis cervicis and capitis. And then we would get this fairly large number of 2,320 newtons per centimeter.